It's the year 106 BC, a time when ancient Rome is at its zenith, brimming with power and influence. Among the thriving cities, Arpinum in central Italy quietly nurtures an exceptional child named Marcus Tullius Cicero. Cicero's father, Quintus Tullius Cicero, a wealthy equestrian, ensures his son receives an excellent education. The boy is sent to study in Rome under the tutelage of renowned scholars. In the bustling streets of Rome, young Marcus is exposed to the vibrant world of Greek philosophy and oratory for the first time. He is captivated by the eloquence of the Greek rhetoricians and begins to envision a future where he can wield such power with words. Cicero's initial forays into public speaking are marked by his deep admiration for the Greek masters, particularly Demosthenes. He starts to practice the art of rhetoric, recognizing that persuasive speech is not merely about beauty, but also about persuading and moving audiences. The seeds of transformation are sown as Cicero begins to craft his own rhetorical style, blending the precision of Greek logic with Roman practicality. This early foundation will later lay the groundwork for Western education and humanist thought, reshaping how we communicate and persuade. In the ancient city of Rome, a young man named Cicero was making waves in the world of law and politics, not with wealth or family connections, but with the sheer power of his words. His entry into public life began with humble roots. Born outside Rome's prestigious patrician class, he pursued education under the tutelage of notable philosophers, absorbing Greek logic and rhetoric. His first significant trial was a pivotal moment that showcased his legal acumen. Cicero defended Sextus Roscius of Ameria, who stood accused of parricide, the heinous crime of killing one's father. The stakes were high, not only for Roscius but also for Cicero, as this trial would shape his public image. In the courtroom, Cicero's oratory was masterful. He argued not merely for Roscius's innocence, but also against the corrupt political climate that sought to frame him. His meticulous cross-examination of witnesses and logical dismantling of prosecutors' arguments painted a vivid picture of injustice. The trial's outcome was decisive. Roscius was acquitted. Cicero's victory resonated deeply, marking him as a force to be reckoned with in the legal realm. His reputation grew exponentially, not just as a skilled lawyer, but also as an advocate against oppression. But Cicero's ambitions extended beyond the courtroom. His early legal victories propelled him into the political arena, where he began to champion causes that aligned with his humanist ideals. His entry into public life was marked by a steadfast commitment to justice and the well-being of the Roman people. Cicero understood that persuasion through eloquent speech could transform society, an insight that would lay the groundwork for Western education and humanist thought. As he continued to rise in prominence, Cicero's reputation as a skilled orator and advocate became firmly established. His rhetorical prowess was not merely a tool for legal battles, but also a means of shaping public opinion and advocating for change. His transition from private citizen to prominent public figure was complete, setting the stage for his later influential works and speeches that would further reshape Western thought. One of the most notable highlights in his legal career was the defense of Aulus Cluentius Habitus, a wealthy Roman citizen accused of poisoning his stepson. Cicero's masterful oratory during this trial not only secured an acquittal for his client, but also bolstered his own reputation as a brilliant legal mind. In the political realm, Cicero's ascendancy reached its zenith when he was elected consul in 63 BC. During his term, he played a pivotal role in uncovering and suppressing the Catiline conspiracy, a plot to overthrow the government. His famous orations against Catiline displayed his exceptional skill in swaying public opinion and rousing the citizens to action. Through these powerful speeches, Cicero demonstrated the transformative potential of rhetoric in shaping public sentiment and safeguarding the Republic. The impact of his words was so profound that they became etched in the collective memory of Rome. This ability to sway public opinion through powerful oratory is what has secured his place in history as a master of rhetoric. As his career highlights attest, Cicero's mastery of rhetoric laid the foundation for Western education and humanist thought, transforming the way we communicate and persuade. Beyond his political and legal achievements, Cicero's philosophical works have had a profound impact on Western thought. His dialogues, such as De Republica and De Legibus, explore the fundamental principles of governance and law. These works laid the groundwork for subsequent generations of thinkers to build upon. De Republica, in particular, delves into the ideal form of government and the role of justice within society. Cicero's ideas were not merely theoretical, they resonated deeply with those seeking practical guidance on governance and ethics. The influence of De Legibus can be seen in the writings of medieval scholars who further developed Cicero's concepts into comprehensive legal theories. These works not only shaped Roman thought, but also laid the foundation for humanist thinking in the West. The enduring impact of Cicero's ideas is evident in the works of later philosophers who built upon his foundational principles. Illustrating the lasting influence of Cicero's philosophy on Western thought, his ideas continue to be studied and debated today. In the turbulent political landscape of ancient Rome, no figure embodied resilience and influence more than Cicero. Exiled by Mark Antony in 43 BCE, Cicero faced the greatest challenge of his life. This was not just a setback, but a profound test of his convictions. Forced to leave his beloved Rome, Cicero retreated to the countryside. Here, in Tusculum, he found solace and a quiet place to reflect on the events that had led him to this point. It was during his exile that Cicero penned one of his most enduring works, the Tusculan Disputations. This series of philosophical essays explores the nature of virtue and the role of philosophy in a person's life. In these writings, Cicero wrestles with the fundamental questions of human existence. What is our purpose? How should we live virtuous lives amidst adversity? Cicero's exile did not silence him. Instead, it gave rise to some of his most profound thoughts. He argued that true happiness comes from the practice of virtue, and this virtue is within reach even during times of hardship. His reflections during exile reveal a man unbroken by circumstance, finding strength in his philosophical beliefs. Before leaving for Greece, Cicero delivered a final speech to the Senate. Standing before his peers, he spoke with characteristic eloquence and passion. He lamented the state of Roman politics, but also expressed hope for the future. "Our country is at risk," he said, "but it is not lost." His words were a poignant reminder of his unwavering belief in Rome and its people. Cicero's Exile and Return demonstrate not only his personal resilience, but also the enduring influence of his ideas. Even in adversity, Cicero's philosophy continued to shape the way we think about communication, persuasion, and the pursuit of virtue. During the Renaissance, centuries after his death, Cicero's ideas were rediscovered and enthusiastically embraced. Humanism, with its emphasis on the potential of human beings to create a better world through learning and reason, emerged as a powerful intellectual movement. Cicero's works provided the philosophical bedrock for this new way of thinking. He championed the notion that humans are capable of improving themselves through education and self-reflection. His influence extended beyond philosophy, permeating education and politics. Humanists like Erasmus and Petrarch saw in Cicero a model for how to live and think. They studied his texts not just as historical artifacts, but as living guides for personal growth and societal transformation. Even today, Cicero's writings are part of the canon in many educational institutions. His ideas on rhetoric, ethics, and politics continue to resonate with students and scholars alike. His legacy is more than just historical. It is a living force that continues to shape our understanding of communication, persuasion, and the pursuit of virtue. As we look back at his enduring significance, we realize that Cicero's philosophy did not merely inform an era, it transformed it. And it continues to do so. Cicero's legacy serves as a reminder of the power of ideas and the impact they can have across generations. His approach to rhetoric is a timeless model for effective communication and persuasion. Let's delve into how Cicero's mastery of rhetoric laid the foundation for Western education and humanist thought. Cicero believed that the art of persuasion was crucial, not just for public speaking, but also for everyday conversations. He advocated for a blend of logic and emotion in his speeches, understanding that reason alone could be dry and uninspiring. His use of vivid imagery and emotional appeals made his arguments more compelling and memorable. Consider his famous phrase, ceterum censeo, Carthaginem esse delendam, often translated as, "Furthermore, I believe that Carthage must be destroyed." The repetition of this phrase drove home his point with force and consistency. Cicero's techniques are still studied and emulated today because they work. Politicians, lawyers, and public speakers all strive to achieve the eloquence model set by Cicero. His ability to combine reason and passion in his arguments remains a cornerstone of effective communication. Even today, in boardrooms and courtrooms alike, the principles he established are applied with remarkable success. The relevance of his techniques is a testament to their timeless value. Cicero's eloquence model stands as an enduring example of how effective communication can shape our world. And while the context may have changed, the essence of his approach remains strikingly applicable in our modern age. Cicero, the esteemed Roman philosopher and statesman, is renowned for his eloquence and intellectual prowess. His theory of rhetoric, encompassing 5 essential canons, invention, arrangement, style, memory, and delivery, formed the bedrock of Western education and humanist thought. Invention, the first canon, pertains to discovering persuasive arguments and relevant material for speech. Cicero's orations, such as his defense of Caelius during the Catiline conspiracy trial, exemplify this canon. Arrangement, the second canon, involves organizing arguments logically and effectively. His speech, Pro Archia, is a prime example of his skill in arranging arguments coherently. Style, the third canon, encompasses the use of language to convey ideas with clarity and elegance. Cicero's letters to Atticus are notable for their refined and eloquent style. Memory, the fourth canon, is crucial for recollecting and recalling information during speeches. His ability to remember and recite long passages from memory is showcased in his orations. Delivery, the fifth canon, concerns the art of presenting a speech with conviction and appropriate gesture. His delivery in the Catiline orations is a powerful demonstration of this canon. Through these canons, Cicero not only theorized about rhetoric, but also exemplified it in his public speeches and writings. This practical application underscores the enduring relevance and effectiveness of his theoretical framework. The Roman Republic's legal system, while not as elaborate or far-reaching as the empire's, was robust and forward-thinking. At its heart stood Cicero, a man whose mastery of rhetoric laid the foundation for Western education and humanist thought. His contributions to Roman law and jurisprudence are immense, setting precedents that echoed through generations. Cicero's De Legibus, On the Laws, is a prime example of his legal prowess. In this work, he explores the concept of natural law, positing that laws should align with the universal order of nature and reason. This idea would later form the basis for natural law theory, which suggests that certain rights are inherent to all humans by virtue of their humanity. Additionally, De Republica, On the Commonwealth, delves into the principles that should govern a just and orderly society. Cicero believed in the rule of law and argued for a constitutional framework that protected citizens' rights. His ideas were not merely theoretical. They influenced Roman jurisprudence and legal practice for centuries to come. Cicero's legal writings were not only philosophically rich, but also practical. He understood that the law is a living entity, constantly evolving with society. His ability to articulate complex ideas in simple terms made his works accessible and influential among both jurists and laypeople. One key aspect of Cicero's legacy is how he humanized the law. By drawing parallels between legal principles and everyday experiences, he made abstract concepts tangible. This approach not only educated, but also inspired his contemporaries and those who followed. His writings emphasize the importance of logic and ethics in legal decision-making, stressing that a just society is built on fairness and moral integrity. This perspective transformed the field of jurisprudence, setting a precedent for Western legal thought that continues to resonate today. As we consider the enduring impact of Cicero's work, it becomes clear that his ideas were revolutionary not just for their time but for all time. His insistence on the primacy of natural law and the rule of reason in governance has shaped legal systems across the globe. Cicero's influence extends beyond Rome, informing modern debates on human rights and constitutional law. His writings remind us that law is not merely a set of rules, but a reflection of our highest ideals. This realization is as pertinent today as it was in ancient times. In reflecting on Cicero's legacy, we see how his mastery of rhetoric laid the foundation for Western education and humanist thought. His contributions to Roman law and jurisprudence are a testament to the power of clear, ethical thinking in shaping society. As we settle into this understanding, we are left with the soft assurance that the pursuit of wisdom and virtue is a timeless endeavor, one that continues to guide us toward a more just and compassionate world. Consider Winston Churchill, whose soaring speeches during World War II rallied a nation. His "This was their finest hour" address from June 1940 exemplifies ethos, the appeal to character and credibility. Churchill's words carried weight not only because of his stature as a statesman, but also due to the genuine emotion he conveyed. Pathos, the appeal to emotion, was another rhetorical strategy Cicero pioneered. Cicero's use of logos, the appeal to logic and reason, is also evident in modern political discourse. Barack Obama's speeches are known for their logical structure, breaking down complex ideas into digestible components. Obama's addresses often begin with a simple premise and build incrementally, guiding the audience step by step through his arguments. This structured approach to rhetoric is a hallmark of Ciceronian techniques. These strategies are not just theoretical constructs, they have practical applications in contemporary communication. Ethos, pathos, and logos remain fundamental pillars of persuasive discourse. As we delve deeper into Cicero's legacy, we recognize that his methods are not merely historical relics, but living tools that continue to be employed effectively by leaders today. The principles of ethos, pathos, and logos echo through the centuries, demonstrating the lasting impact of Cicero's rhetorical strategies on modern discourse. Beyond his immediate influence, Cicero's rhetorical principles have left a profound mark on medieval scholasticism and the Western intellectual tradition. In the bustling halls of medieval universities, scholars like Thomas Aquinas adapted Ciceronian dialectical methods to their quest for truth and understanding. The art of rhetoric, with its tripartite structure of ethos, pathos, and logos, became an indispensable tool for theological debates. Thinkers delved into texts with rigorous analysis, dissecting arguments and counter-arguments to uncover deeper meanings. Rhetoric's significance extended beyond philosophy, shaping educational structures and pedagogical practices that still echo today. The dialectic method, with its back-and-forth questioning, became a cornerstone of medieval education. Scholasticism, the intellectual movement that dominated medieval thought, owes much to Cicero's ideas on argumentation and persuasion. Cicero's emphasis on eloquence and persuasive speech resonated deeply with scholars seeking to convey complex ideas effectively. His principles of clarity and coherence guided the crafting of treatises that aimed to illuminate the divine truths. Through these intellectual exercises, Cicero's vision of a well-spoken and reasoned society found fertile ground in the medieval quest for knowledge. As the medieval quest for knowledge flourished, the works of Cicero found new life in dusty manuscripts rediscovered by eager scholars. The renewed interest in his texts brought forth a revival of classical rhetoric, which laid the groundwork for the Humanist movement during the Renaissance. Petrarch, an Italian scholar and poet, was one of the first to rekindle enthusiasm for Cicero's ideas. He became so obsessed with finding Ciceronian texts that he embarked on a journey across Europe in search of manuscripts hidden away in ancient monasteries. One of Petrarch's most significant finds was the manuscript containing Cicero's letters to his friend Atticus, which offered profound insights into the Roman statesman's thoughts and political strategies. These letters would go on to influence Renaissance humanist thought significantly. Erasmus, another key figure in the humanist movement, was deeply inspired by Cicero's writings. He saw in them a model for eloquent and persuasive communication that could be applied to his own philosophical works. Cicero's mastery of rhetoric emphasized the importance of clear, logical arguments and the power of persuasion through speech. Erasmus integrated these principles into his own educational ideals, which became foundational for humanist thought. Through the work of Petrarch and Erasmus, the Renaissance saw a resurgence in classical learning that placed rhetoric at its core. This emphasis on eloquent communication and persuasive argumentation was a cornerstone for the intellectual revival during this period. The humanist movement, shaped by Cicero's ideas, sought to cultivate well-rounded individuals who could think critically and communicate effectively. This focus on rhetoric transformed not just education, but the very way people engaged with ideas and with one another. In this renewed appreciation for classical wisdom, Cicero's eloquence became a model for aspiring scholars and orators alike. His works provided not just historical insight, but practical guidelines for effective communication in any setting. As the Renaissance unfolded, the integration of Ciceronian rhetoric into educational principles helped shape a society that valued reasoned discourse and persuasive argumentation. This transformation laid the groundwork for modern education systems that prioritize critical thinking and effective communication. In essence, Cicero's vision of a well-spoken and reasoned society found new life during the Renaissance, guiding the intellectual revival that would shape Western thought for centuries to come. Cicero's vision of a well-spoken and reasoned society found its zenith during the Enlightenment, profoundly influencing thinkers who shaped Western thought. Cicero's mastery of rhetoric, the art of persuasive communication, has left an indelible mark on Western education and thought. His philosophies have evolved into modern communication theory, shaping how we teach, learn, and influence one another today. At the heart of Cicero's approach is the concept of eloquence, or the ability to speak persuasively. This skill is not merely about delivery, but also about understanding the audience, crafting compelling arguments, and adapting to different contexts. In contemporary education, classical rhetoric is integrated into curricula through courses on public speaking, debate, and media studies. These classes teach students how to structure their thoughts logically, use evidence effectively, and deliver presentations that captivate audiences. In media studies, the application of rhetoric is evident in the analysis of persuasive messages. Students dissect advertisements, political speeches, and news reports to understand how language and imagery are used to sway public opinion. This critical thinking skill equips students with the ability to evaluate information objectively, identifying underlying biases and manipulative tactics. It's a form of media literacy that Cicero would likely approve of, given his emphasis on reasoning and truth-seeking. In public speaking and argumentation techniques, Ciceronian rhetoric continues to be influential. Speakers are taught to tailor their messages to specific audiences, using examples and analogies that resonate with listeners' experiences and values. The art of storytelling is also emphasized, as compelling narratives can make complex ideas more accessible and memorable. This approach aligns with Cicero's belief in the power of narrative to inspire and persuade. Moreover, effective communication theory often incorporates techniques such as repetition for emphasis and the strategic use of silence to heighten impact. These are tactics that Cicero refined over his career as a renowned orator. As we examine these modern applications, it becomes clear that Cicero's ideas remain foundational in shaping educational practices and effective communication strategies today. His vision of a well-spoken and reasoned society endures through the enduring relevance of his philosophies. Amid the vibrant intellectual landscape of ancient Rome, one figure stands out for his profound influence on Western thought: Marcus Tullius Cicero. Born in 1006 BCE, Cicero was a statesman, philosopher, and rhetorician whose commanding oratory and written works laid the foundation for Roman oratory and Western education. Cicero's mastery of rhetoric was not merely a personal skill, but an adaptation and evolution of the Greek rhetorical tradition. This tradition, dating back to ancient Athens, had been honed by philosophers like Aristotle and Socrates. Aristotle, in his seminal work Rhetoric, laid out the fundamental principles of persuasive speech. He identified three types of rhetoric: forensic, deliberative, and epidictic. Cicero took these concepts and applied them with unparalleled eloquence in his own works, such as De Inventione, which echoed Aristotle's structure and expanded upon it. But Cicero did not simply replicate Greek thought. He also drew from the wisdom of Isocrates, who emphasized the importance of education in rhetoric. Isocrates believed that true eloquence came not just from skillful speech, but also from a deep understanding of virtue and wisdom. This holistic view resonated with Cicero. In his Antidosis, Cicero articulates this vision, asserting that the ideal orator is one who combines intellectual prowess with moral virtue. This synthesis of Greek thought laid the groundwork for Roman oratory and Western education as Cicero's works became foundational texts in schools across the empire. His De Inventione, for instance, not only aligned with but also expanded upon Aristotle's canons of rhetoric, incorporating a broader range of techniques and applications. This adaptation ensured that the principles of Greek rhetoric endured through Roman practice and education, influencing generations to come. Cicero's legacy extends beyond antiquity. His works still studied today for their profound insights into the art of persuasion and communication. Through his synthesis of Greek thought, Cicero created a bridge that spans the centuries, connecting ancient wisdom to modern practice. In the heart of the Dark Ages, amidst the crumbling ruins of ancient empires, a beacon of learning persisted in Europe's monasteries. These fortresses of faith and knowledge were the libraries of their time, quietly preserving the wisdom of the past. Among the treasured texts that survived were the works of Cicero, the Roman orator and philosopher whose ideas would eventually transform Western education. Within these stone walls, Cicero's philosophical treatises were diligently copied by hand, page by patient page. His words on rhetoric, ethics, and politics were seen as a lifeline to the intellectual riches of Rome. The influence of Cicero in these monasteries was profound. His ideas shaped the very curriculum that would define medieval education, giving rise to what became known as the Trivium and Quadrivium. The Trivium grammar, logic, and rhetoric was grounded in Cicero's belief that a well-rounded education should encompass the ability to communicate effectively. Logic, in particular, was central to both Cicero and the medieval scholars who studied him. It provided a framework for reasoned debate and intellectual exploration. The quadrivium arithmetic, geometry, astronomy, and music reflected Cicero's holistic view of education, which included both the arts and sciences. Monastic debates and correspondence were infused with Ciceronian rhetoric. Monks honed their arguments using the same techniques that had once resonated in the Roman Senate. Through these practices, Cicero's philosophy not only survived but thrived, setting the stage for the humanist thought that would emerge centuries later. As the Middle Ages gave way to the Renaissance, Cicero's ideas continued to ripple through education, influencing generations of thinkers and scholars. Cicero's mastery of rhetoric not only shaped Western education, but also laid the foundation for effective diplomacy during the early modern European period. His principles of eloquence found their way into the correspondence and negotiation practices of various European courts. In the correspondence between European courts, Ciceronian eloquence was often employed to articulate complex ideas and persuade counterparts in a diplomatic manner. Cicero's influence on the art of negotiation is evident in the way early modern European diplomats drafted treaties and agreements. The language used in diplomatic reports was also influenced by Cicero's rhetorical theories. Diplomats strived to maintain a high standard of eloquence and clarity, making their communications more effective and persuasive. The use of Ciceronian rhetoric helped to create a common linguistic framework that facilitated understanding and cooperation among European nations. This common language, infused with the principles of Cicero's eloquence, was not just a means of communication, but also a tool for maintaining political stability and promoting peace. In essence, Cicero's rhetorical principles transformed the way diplomats communicated, ensuring that their messages were both clear and persuasive. This transformation laid a strong foundation for effective communication in European politics and diplomacy, which continues to guide modern practices today. As the early modern period unfolded, the enduring influence of Cicero's eloquence ensured that diplomatic correspondence remained a cornerstone of effective international relations. Illustrating how Cicero's principles continued to guide communication in European politics and diplomacy highlights the enduring relevance of his ideas in shaping our modern world. Did you know that the principles laid down by Cicero more than 2,000 years ago are still being taught in modern humanities curricula? In college-level humanities courses across the globe, students delve into Cicero's writings to understand the core of rhetoric and persuasion. Ciceronian rhetoric is not merely a historical artifact, it remains a living tool, shaping how we think about communication and persuasion today. Imagine opening a textbook that contains wisdom from an era predating Christianity, yet still pertinent to our digital age. The impact of Cicero's works extends beyond academic study. They are foundational texts in critical thinking and language studies. His principles are woven into the fabric of modern teaching methods, emphasizing clear communication and persuasive argumentation. Consider the influence on contemporary education, where the art of rhetoric is as vital as ever in cultivating effective communicators. This enduring relevance reinforces how Cicero's theories continue to shape not just academic discourse, but the very essence of our interactions in society. Cicero's theories, which emphasized the power of reason and eloquence, transcended religious boundaries to become integral in medieval secular thought. Medieval scholars like Peter Abelard and Thomas Aquinas eagerly adopted Cicero's rhetorical principles, recognizing their value in shaping cogent arguments and persuasive speech. These principles, such as the importance of ethos, logos, and pathos, were integrated into university curricula, forming the bedrock of Western education. The adoption of Cicero's ideas signified a shift towards valuing reason and logic in secular discourse, transcending the dominance of religious doctrine. Cicero's works, such as De Oratore and Brutus, became staples in medieval libraries, ensuring his ideas were accessible to scholars across Europe. Peter Abelard, for instance, drew heavily on Cicero's writings to develop his own theories on logic and rhetoric, demonstrating the enduring relevance of Roman thought. Thomas Aquinas, in his magnum opus, Summa Theologica, employed Cicero's rhetorical strategies to structure his arguments, bridging theological thought with classical eloquence. This fusion of classical and medieval ideas laid a foundation for humanist thought, which emphasized the importance of individual reason and expression over purely divine authority. Cicero's influence extended beyond philosophical texts, permeating medieval literature and poetry, where his emphasis on the power of words resonated deeply. His principles on rhetoric and communication form the backbone of early secular education, transcending religious boundaries to influence generations of thinkers. The ancient Roman orator Cicero's mastery of rhetoric laid the foundation for Western education and humanist thought, transcending religious boundaries to influence generations of thinkers. His principles on communication form the backbone of early secular education, and his ideals are particularly foundational to Renaissance art and literature. During the Renaissance, humanist writers like Petrarch and Erasmus embraced Cicero's ideals of eloquence and persuasion. Cicero's belief in the power of rhetoric to shape societies and minds resonated deeply with these thinkers. His teachings on oratory and persuasion led to a revival of classical learning and creativity in art during this period. The Humanists, inspired by Cicero, championed the use of rhetoric not just for political discourse, but also for artistic expression. They saw in his works a model for combining logic and emotional appeal to create powerful art. This blend of reason and passion is evident in many Renaissance paintings, which often convey profound messages through their aesthetic beauty. The art of the Renaissance drew from Cicero's teachings to reinvigorate artistic expression and humanistic thought, forging a new era of creativity that continues to influence us today. Cicero's influence did not fade with the fall of Rome. His ideas continued to resonate in the minds of thinkers and philosophers long after his death, shaping the intellectual landscape of Europe during the early modern period. Niccolo Machiavelli, for instance, drew heavily from Cicero's works to develop his theories on political power and governance. Machiavelli's The Prince, a treatise on leadership, is replete with references and allusions to Cicero's writings. Cicero's emphasis on the virtues of a good leader and his cautionary tales about those who abuse power are clearly echoed in Machiavelli's pragmatic advice to rulers. Similarly, Thomas Hobbes, another influential political philosopher of the early modern era, found inspiration in Cicero's writings on civic duty and the nature of society. Hobbes's Leviathan, which explores the origins of political power and the social contract, can be seen as a response to Cicero's idealistic views on republican government. Through these and other thinkers, Cicero's ideas helped shape the nascent field of political philosophy in Europe. His mastery of rhetoric laid the foundation for understanding how language can be used to persuade and govern. The principles he espoused, such as the importance of eloquence in public discourse and the need for leaders to be virtuous and just, continued to guide political thought well into the early modern period and beyond. In essence, Cicero's ideas were a bridge between classical antiquity and the modern world, transforming the way we communicate and persuade in politics. In the serene gardens of ancient Rome, Cicero, a man of remarkable eloquence, walked the paths of philosophy. His words echoed with the power to transform not just politics, but also the very fabric of moral thought. Centuries later, in the bustling cities of the Enlightenment, philosophers like Locke and Rousseau drew from Cicero's well. They sipped from his insights into natural law and virtue, shaping their own ideas on morality and ethics. Locke echoed this belief, asserting that reason and natural law were the foundations of human conduct. Rousseau, too, found in Cicero's virtue a cornerstone for his own vision of the noble savage. These Enlightenment thinkers, inspired by Cicero's timeless wisdom, forged a new path in moral philosophy. Their work laid the groundwork for modern concepts of justice and morality. In quiet classrooms today, students still learn the principles that Cicero first articulated so long ago. His ideas, a bridge across millennia, continue to shape our understanding of right and wrong. For in the end, Cicero's transformative vision of morality remains a beacon that guides us still. And so, we find ourselves in a quiet classroom once more, where the echoes of Cicero's wisdom continue to resonate. Cicero's wisdom did not fade with time. It was systematized and propagated by those who came after him. Among the most notable of these was Quintilian, whose Institutio Oratoria, or the education of an orator, relied heavily on Cicero's writings. The Institutio Oratoria was a comprehensive treatise on the art of rhetoric, drawing extensively from Cicero's works to illustrate principles and techniques. This work ensured that the principles of rhetoric developed by Cicero were codified and passed down through generations. The impact of Quintilian's work was profound, shaping the educational landscape of medieval Europe. Medieval scholars and educators turned to the Institutio Oratoria as a cornerstone text in teaching the art of persuasion and communication. Through this lineage, Cicero's ideas continued to influence Western thought long after his time. Thus, the Quintilian tradition emerged, a continuous thread of rhetorical wisdom that has shaped our modern understanding of communication and persuasion. By systematizing and propagating Cicero's teachings, Quintilian ensured that the insights of a Roman statesman continue to echo in classrooms and lecture halls today. So, the next time you find yourself in a quiet classroom or reflecting on the power of words, remember that the foundations of this art were laid centuries ago by a Roman philosopher whose ideas have stood the test of time. As we continue to explore the evolution of thought and communication, it is clear that Cicero's mastery of rhetoric has left an indelible mark on our world. In the heart of Renaissance Italy, a quiet revolution was brewing, one that would forever transform Western thought and education. At the center of this intellectual rebirth stood the writings and rhetorical theories of Cicero, a Roman statesman whose ideas had lain dormant for centuries. Rediscovered by scholars like Petrarch and promoted by humanists such as Leonardo Bruni and Lorenzo Valla, Cicero's works began to circulate widely across Italy. His essays on rhetoric, philosophy, and politics became cornerstones for a new era of learning. Petrarch, often considered the father of humanism, was deeply influenced by Cicero's ideals of oratory and moral philosophy. He saw in Cicero a model for the perfect speaker and thinker, embodying the virtues of wisdom, eloquence, and civic duty. Leonardo Bruni, the Chancellor of Florence, was another prominent figure who advocated for Cicero's ideas. He translated many of Cicero's works into Latin, making them accessible to a wider audience and ensuring their enduring impact on Italian thought. Lorenzo Valla, known for his critical scholarship, challenged traditional interpretations of Cicero's texts. His meticulous studies brought new insights and rigor to the understanding of Cicero's rhetoric, further solidifying its relevance in the Renaissance context. The revival of Cicero's ideas sparked a profound transformation in Italian education and culture. Humanism, with its focus on the study of classical literature, philosophy, and rhetoric, flourished under the influence of these thinkers. Schools began to emphasize the teaching of Latin and Greek, enabling students to read Cicero's works in their original languages. This emphasis on classical education laid the foundation for a new breed of scholars who were well-versed in rhetoric and philosophy. The ideas of Cicero permeated not only academic institutions, but also the broader culture, shaping a new generation of thinkers who were passionate about civic engagement and moral leadership. As we reflect on this period, it becomes clear that Cicero's mastery of rhetoric did more than just influence a few thinkers. It ignited a renaissance in learning and cultural flourishing that continues to resonate today. As we delve into the intellectual breakthroughs of the Scottish Enlightenment, it becomes evident that Cicero's ideas not only provided a foundation, but ignited new lines of inquiry and reflection. His influence was transformative, shaping the way Western philosophers approached ethics, skepticism, and human nature. Beyond his enduring impact on Western philosophy, Cicero's mastery of rhetoric has shaped the very foundation of modern communication studies. Central to his teachings was the concept of rhetoric as a powerful tool for persuasion and understanding. Key figures like Kenneth Burke and Chaim Perelman drew heavily on Cicero's ideas for their theories. Burke, known for his theory of dramatism, saw language as a symbolic action that shapes our perceptions and interactions. Perelman, on the other hand, emphasized rational argumentation and the logic behind persuasive communication. Both Burke and Perelman recognized that effective communication involves more than just words. It requires a deep understanding of human nature. Cicero's principles, rooted in the classical traditions of Greece and Rome, continue to resonate today because they address universal aspects of how we communicate. In academic and professional settings alike, the ability to persuade and be persuaded is fundamental, making Cicero's teachings indispensable. His emphasis on clarity, logic, and emotional appeal remains the cornerstone of effective communication strategies today. As we continue to explore and refine our methods of persuasion and understanding, it is clear that Cicero's legacy will continue to shape the future of communication theory. While Cicero's ideas on rhetoric and persuasion were groundbreaking, their true impact became evident centuries later in the emergence of Europe's earliest universities. In the 12th century, the University of Bologna and the University of Paris were founded as centers of learning with a strong focus on rhetoric and law disciplines heavily influenced by Cicero's writings. Bologna, known as the Learned City, was a hub for students seeking to master the art of persuasion and debate through Cicero's teachings. At Paris, scholars like Peter Abelard dedicated their lives to studying and teaching Cicero's works, recognizing the profound significance they held for understanding and shaping human thought. Another notable figure, Anselm of Laon, made significant contributions to the study of Cicero's rhetorical techniques, furthering their application in legal and philosophical discourse. As these early universities grew in prominence, they became beacons for the spread of humanist thought and classical education. The influence of Cicero's ideas can still be seen today in the foundational principles of Western education, a testament to his enduring legacy. These early institutions laid the groundwork for modern universities, carrying forward Cicero's vision of an educated populace capable of thoughtful discourse and reasoned persuasion. And so, the seeds planted by Cicero's teachings in ancient Rome have blossomed into a rich tapestry of educational institutions dedicated to nurturing the minds and communication skills of future generations. As we look towards the future, it's clear that Cicero's legacy will continue to shape how we learn and communicate, cementing his place as a cornerstone of Western thought. Beyond Rome's bustling forum and marble temples, another influential center of rhetoric emerged, the pulpit of early Christian churches. In a time when pagans and Christians coexisted, the art of persuasion was crucial. Augustine, Ambrose, and Gregory of Nazianzus adopted Cicero's eloquence to convert and educate. Cicero's rhetorical techniques were woven into their sermons, transforming simple messages into persuasive appeals. Consider Augustine's Confessions. He employs narratio and exordium, crafting personal stories that captivate the listener. These stories serve as powerful arguments, drawing pagans to Christ's teachings through emotional connection. Ambrose, in Milan, used Cicero's ethos and pathos to challenge pagan beliefs and practices. His rhetoric painted vivid images of the Christian faith, making it accessible to common folk. Gregory of Nazianzus' orations showcase Cicero's use of repetition and parallelism for emphasis. This technique amplifies the message's impact, making it resonate with both Christians and pagans. In essence, these early Christian sermons demonstrate the practical application of Cicero's rhetoric. As we delve deeper into Western thought, the echoes of Cicero's eloquence continue to resound. One of the most significant ways his legacy endured was through medieval secular literature. Among the prominent figures influenced by Cicero were Dante and Boccaccio, both of whom drew heavily on classical rhetoric and philosophy. Dante's De Monarchia, written in the early 14th century, is a prime example of this influence. In De Monarchia, Dante employs classical rhetorical techniques to argue for the divine right of kings and the separation of church and state. Boccaccio's works, such as his collection of novellas known as the Decameron, also showcase Cicero's philosophical ideas. Boccaccio uses rhetoric to explore themes of love, fate, and free will, concepts that Cicero himself delved into in his philosophical writings. The enduring influence of Cicero on secular intellectual pursuits is evident through these literary masterpieces. Through their works, the ideas of classical philosophy were preserved and passed down to future generations, shaping Western thought for centuries to come. Cicero's impact extends beyond the literary realm, influencing educational methods and humanist thought across Europe during the Middle Ages. His emphasis on eloquence and reason as tools for persuasion and understanding lay the solid foundation for Western philosophy and education. As we continue our exploration of Cicero's influence, it becomes clear that his teachings have left an indelible mark on the intellectual landscape of the West. The echoes of Cicero's eloquence continue to resonate through the ages, shaping how we think and communicate. It's not just Cicero's eloquence that echoes through time. It's his rhetorical mastery that has shaped how we think and communicate. As we delve into the works of Machiavelli, Hobbes, and Locke, we see the unmistakable imprint of Ciceronian principles in their formulations of political theories like republicanism and social contract theory. Machiavelli, whose The Prince is a seminal work in political science, embraced Cicero's concept of the ideal orator and leader. Both men believed that persuasive speech was vital to governing effectively. Cicero's De Oratore, or On the Orator, laid out the qualities needed for an effective leader, qualities that Machiavelli would later champion in his own writings. For Hobbes, Cicero's philosophy provided the backdrop against which he developed his ideas about the social contract. Hobbes's Leviathan drew on Ciceronian rhetoric to argue for a strong central authority. Locke, in his Two Treatises of Government, echoed Cicero's views on the consent of the governed. Both thinkers believed that a legitimate government must have the support of its people. These political philosophers, each in their way, built upon Cicero's foundational work to create theories that have shaped modern political thought. And so, as we trace the lineage from Cicero to these giants of political theory, we see how his ideas have transformed not just our methods of communication, but also the very fabric of our societies. It's a testament to Cicero's enduring relevance that his insights continue to resonate, guiding us as we navigate the complexities of modern governance. As the Roman Republic crumbled and the era of emperors dawned, Cicero's writings endured as beacons of wisdom and learning. They would later find a new life in medieval Europe, where his ideas on rhetoric and philosophy became cornerstones of legal education. In the quiet monasteries and bustling universities of medieval Europe, scholars pored over Cicero's works, particularly De Inventione, his treatise on rhetoric. This text became a foundational resource for understanding the art of persuasion and logic. De Inventione laid out 5 canons of rhetoric, invention, arrangement, style, memory, and delivery. These principles became the bedrock upon which medieval educators constructed their curriculum. The monks and scholars who studied these texts saw in them a path to mastering not just speech, but also the complexities of law. They integrated Cicero's logical framework into their legal training. In the classroom, students would recite Cicero's maxims, internalizing his insights. "If you wish to persuade me, you must consider what I believe," one of Cicero's enduring principles, became a mantra for legal scholars. This approach to legal education, grounded in classical philosophy and rhetoric, would shape the way law was understood and practiced for centuries. It laid the foundation for the humanist thought that would flourish during the Renaissance. In the quiet of a medieval scriptorium, as a monk carefully copied De Inventione, he was not just preserving Cicero's words, but also ensuring that his wisdom would continue to guide future generations. As the monk dipped his quill into the ink, he was part of a continuum that stretched from ancient Rome to medieval Europe and beyond. This was more than just the act of copying a text. It was the transmission of knowledge across time. Cicero's enduring impact on legal education demonstrates the power of ideas to transcend eras and cultures. His principles continue to guide modern legal thought, testament to his timeless relevance. But the influence of Cicero's rhetorical mastery extends far beyond the legal realm. As Europe transitioned from the classical era into the Renaissance, his writings provided a crucial bridge, shaping the development of vernacular literature. Explore how Cicero's style influenced the transition from Latin to vernacular languages and literature. Among the first to adopt and adapt Cicero's principles were Dante Alighieri and Petrarch. These Italian poets recognized the power of Cicero's emphasis on natural language flow. They saw in his writings a model for creating literature that was accessible to the common people. Cicero's works were filled with vivid imagery and emotional resonance, qualities that made his oratory so compelling. Dante and Petrarch incorporated these elements into their own writing, thus laying the groundwork for vernacular literature. Their poems and prose became a testament to the idea that literary expression could be both sophisticated and approachable. Through these early adaptations, Cicero's principles began to take root in new forms of literary expression. His emphasis on natural language flow was adapted into new literary forms that reflected the life and experiences of common people. This shift toward vernacular literature opened up the world of written communication to a broader audience. No longer was literary expression the exclusive domain of the educated elite. Instead, it became a means by which all people could connect, share their stories, and preserve their cultural heritage, illustrating the practical application of Cicero's principles in fostering cultural communication and expression. And so, Cicero's enduring impact continues to ripple through the ages, a testament to his timeless relevance. From the ornate halls of Roman courts to the humble homes of Italian peasants, his ideas have reshaped how we tell our stories and persuade one another. The echoes of Cicero's wisdom still resonate in the halls where future leaders learn to speak with power and persuasion. Modern oratorical training programs continue to draw on his seminal work, De Oratory, as a cornerstone for understanding the art of rhetoric. The Oratory offers insights into delivery, content, and audience engagement that remain remarkably relevant today. Despite being penned over 2,000 years ago, Cicero's teachings have stood the test of time and continue to shape how we communicate effectively. In these programs, aspiring orators study Cicero's advice on delivering a speech with grace and conviction. His emphasis on the importance of gesture, tone, and cadence has been internalized by modern speakers who understand that effective communication goes beyond mere words. Cicero believed that a speaker should not only inform but also move the audience, creating an emotional connection through stories and vivid imagery. This idea of content rich in pathos and ethos is still taught today, recognizing that logic alone does not always sway hearts. His insights into audience engagement are equally valuable. Cicero stressed the importance of knowing your audience and tailoring your message to resonate with them. This principle is still a pillar of modern oratory, where speakers adapt their approach based on the listener's backgrounds and needs. The enduring relevance of Cicero's methods in shaping effective communication cannot be overstated. Even as our world has changed drastically, the fundamental ways we persuade and connect with one another remain deeply influenced by his timeless wisdom. In ancient Rome, Cicero was celebrated not just for his political acumen, but also for his eloquence. His speeches and letters were meticulous works of art, crafted to persuade and inspire. He translated and adapted the works of Plato and Aristotle, bridging the gap between Greek philosophy and Roman thought. Through his translations, Cicero ensured that the wisdom of the classical Greeks was not lost, but instead revived in a new context. This period marked the beginning of what is known as the Classical Greek Revival. Cicero's promotion of Hellenistic ideals in Rome ensured that the essence of classical thought was not merely preserved, but actively integrated into Roman life. Cicero's works became a cornerstone of Roman education, influencing generations of thinkers and orators. His adaptations of Plato's dialogues and Aristotle's treatises helped shape the foundational principles of Western humanism. By blending Greek philosophy with Roman rhetoric, Cicero created a synthesis that profoundly influenced the development of Western thought. His emphasis on logic, virtue, and eloquence became hallmarks of humanist ideals. Through his translations and adaptations, Cicero ensured that the wisdom of ancient Greece was not merely an academic curiosity, but a living force in the Roman world. The influence of Cicero's work continues to this day, echoing through the corridors of power and the halls of academia. His eloquence not only persuaded his contemporaries, but also shaped the very fabric of Western thought. In bridging the gap between Greek philosophy and Roman rhetoric, Cicero laid the groundwork for a humanist tradition that values reason, logic, and virtue above all else. In the medieval era, as learning and scholarship began to coalesce into formal institutions of higher education, one figure's ideas would become foundational for Western academic traditions. Marcus Tullius Cicero, the Roman orator and philosopher, had long passed by then, yet his works on rhetoric, ethics, and politics continued to be studied and revered. At the heart of these early European universities lay Cicero's principles on education and rhetoric, a curriculum rich with his ideas on logic, argumentation, and persuasion. Scholars of the time regarded Cicero as a model of eloquence and reason, and his texts were essential in teaching students the art of discourse and argumentation. The Rhetorica ad Herenium, often mistakenly attributed to Cicero but heavily influenced by his work, was a cornerstone of medieval education. This text instructed students on the 5 canons of rhetoric, inventio, dispositio, elocutio, memoria, and pronunciatio, the essentials of constructing a persuasive argument. Cicero's emphasis on reason and logic served as the bedrock for medieval scholasticism, which emphasized dialectical reasoning and disputatio. The universities of Bologna, Paris, and Oxford, among the earliest in Europe, all incorporated Cicero's works into their curricula. His ideas on the importance of liberal arts education resonated deeply with medieval educators, who sought to cultivate well-rounded and eloquent scholars. Cicero's humanist ideals, encapsulated in his belief that all humans share a common, rational nature, found expression in the medieval university's commitment to teaching and reason. His influence extended beyond the classroom into scholarly thought, shaping medieval interpretations of philosophy and ethics. The Middle Ages saw a resurgence in interest in Cicero's writings, as scholars sought to reconcile classical learning with Christian theology. Cicero's works provided a bridge between ancient wisdom and medieval scholarship, ensuring his ideas remained vibrant and relevant. His emphasis on the centrality of reason in human life continued to resonate deeply with intellectuals who grappled with complex philosophical questions. As we look at modern academia, we find echoes of Cicero's educational philosophy. The emphasis on reason, logic, and eloquence remains the cornerstone of many disciplines. Cicero's legacy in shaping Western education continues to be profound, a testament to his enduring influence on how we communicate, persuade, and think. But even after the fall of Rome, Cicero's ideas did not fade into obscurity. His works were preserved in monastic libraries, waiting to be rediscovered. During the Middle Ages, a renewed interest in classical learning led to the rediscovery of Cicero's texts. Petrarch, one of the pioneering humanists, played a pivotal role in this revival. He found and copied Cicero's letters from an ancient manuscript in Verona, making them accessible to scholars once again. Cicero's ideas, particularly his emphasis on rhetoric and eloquence, resonated deeply with medieval thinkers. This period saw the birth of medieval Ciceronianism, a philosophical movement that sought to emulate Cicero's style. Influential humanists, like Erasmus and Valla, studied and commented on Cicero's works, further disseminating his ideas. Cicero's influence was not merely academic, it permeated the practice of oratory and education in medieval Europe. For instance, Ciceronian principles were integrated into rhetoric courses at universities such as Bologna and Padua. This fusion of ancient wisdom with medieval thought laid the groundwork for the Renaissance, where Ciceronian ideals would flourish anew. Specifically, the art of persuasion and eloquence that Cicero championed became central to medieval oratory. Medieval sermons often employed rhetorical techniques inspired by Cicero, making them more compelling and effective. Thus, Cicero's eloquence continued to influence thought and communication methods during the Middle Ages, bridging ancient and modern humanist traditions. Cicero's mastery of rhetoric left an indelible mark on Western education and humanist thought. As the Middle Ages dawned, his ideas would become foundational in shaping educational models that endured for centuries. At the heart of medieval education lay the Trivium, a structured curriculum designed to equip students with essential communication skills. The Trivium was composed of 3 disciplines: grammar, logic, and rhetoric. Each played a vital role in nurturing the mind and honing the art of persuasion. Grammar laid the groundwork by teaching students to read, write, and analyze texts. It was seen as the gateway to understanding the world. Logic sharpened critical thinking skills, enabling students to argue cogently and dissect complex ideas. But it was rhetoric that held a special place in the Trivium curriculum, as it taught the art of eloquent speech and persuasion skills that were highly valued in medieval society. Cicero's works were integral to this curriculum, providing a blueprint for the art of rhetoric. His treatise, De Inventione, or On Invention, was a staple in medieval classrooms, teaching students how to formulate arguments and craft persuasive speeches. Another key text was Rhetorica ad Herennium, a comprehensive guide on the art of rhetoric that emphasized the importance of delivery, memory, and arrangement. These texts not only taught the theory of rhetoric, but also provided practical examples and exercises for students to hone their skills. By studying Cicero's works, medieval students learned how to wield the power of language to influence others, a skill that was seen as crucial for success in both political and intellectual spheres. The impact of Cicero's ideas on medieval education cannot be overstated. They laid the groundwork for a curriculum that would shape future generations of communicators and thinkers. As medieval students mastered the arts of grammar, logic, and rhetoric, they were equipped to engage in sophisticated debates, write compelling prose, and deliver persuasive speeches. Cicero's eloquence became a cornerstone of Western education, ensuring that his legacy would continue to influence thought and communication methods for centuries to come. The medieval Trivium education, with its emphasis on rhetoric and eloquence, was a testament to Cicero's enduring influence on Western thought. In the late 14th century, Italian poet Petrarch embarked on a journey to find manuscripts of Cicero's works scattered throughout Europe. His quest led him to the discovery of several lost orations and letters. Among Petrarch's finds was the text of Pro Archia, Cicero's passionate defense of poetry, which had a profound impact on Petrarch's own work. This discovery rekindled interest in classical rhetoric and humanist thought. Similarly, Boccaccio, another early Italian humanist, was deeply influenced by Cicero's works. He often drew on Cicero's ideas about eloquence and civic virtue in his writings. Cicero's De Officiis, a treatise on moral philosophy, resonated with humanists like Boccaccio, who saw in it a guide to ethical living and wise governance. Other early humanist scholars, such as Coluccio Salutati, also found inspiration in Cicero's writings, particularly his emphasis on rhetoric as a tool for persuasion and moral education. These early humanist scholars saw in Cicero not just a master of language, but also a philosopher whose ideas on ethics, politics, and education were timeless. Cicero's works became the foundation for the humanist educational model that emphasized the study of classical texts, rhetoric, and moral philosophy. In essence, Cicero's mastery of rhetoric laid the groundwork for a new model of education that continues to influence modern thought and practice. His ideas, passed down through early humanist scholars like Petrarch and Boccaccio, solidify his role as a cornerstone in the development of Western thought. Beyond his legal triumphs, Cicero's eloquence has a lasting legacy that extends far beyond the Roman Senate. Medieval chivalric literature flourished in the Middle Ages, captivating readers with tales of knights and courtly love. The narrative structure and persuasive elements in these texts bear a striking resemblance to Cicero's rhetorical principles. A prime example is Sir Thomas Malory's Le Morte d'Arthur. The story of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table is not just a thrilling adventure, but also an exploration of virtue, honor, and justice. Malory's narrative is structured around speeches and debates, much like Cicero's orations. Characters persuade each other through eloquent language, demonstrating the power of rhetoric. The influence is undeniable. Cicero's principles of rhetoric provided a framework for medieval writers to craft compelling narratives that resonated with their audiences. This transformative effect highlights the depth and breadth of Cicero's impact on Western thought. His ideas, passed down through generations, continue to shape how we communicate and persuade, echoing across literary forms from ancient Rome to the medieval world. As we delve deeper into the evolution of Western thought, it becomes evident that Cicero's rhetorical genius laid a foundation that has withstood the test of time.